The thing about doing this show now is that anytime that we have any conversation, I feel like there should be a theme song.
Yeah, there should be. I also feel like we should never talk to each other except on the show because I keep feeling like, oh, well, that was good material and it was wasted just, because
Yeah, just because we were having an actual human relationship.
it was just us. Yeah. And human relationships are overrated these days anyway.
I don't even know what that means now.
How are you?
Good. I'm good. No
Yeah.
complaints. Well, I have complaints, but I don't. Who's gonna listen?
Right.
No, everything's fine, and we're battening down the hatches for Christmas. The battens have been hatched for months already,
Hatches have been battened.
but they're even more so now that the holidays come in. There's no work to be done, really. It's fun. It's fun. How about you? You
I am spectacular. I have amazing news.
Please tell me.
I was pardoned today. I mean, I know there were a lot of people pardoned, but I got one of them today.
A presidential pardon?
Presidential pardon. Yeah, he's passing them out like crazy.
I didn't even know you'd done anything.
I didn't do anything wrong, but I have that in my pocket now in case I do anything.
Great. So it's a kind of immunity against getting in trouble.
I could shoot him in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and he pardoned me already.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of power that comes with that office. I guess he can do a lot of things, and I didn't get a pardon. I didn't get a notification about a pardon.
You didn't. I'm sorry.
I could use one probably more than you, but
you have some news that I had to hear about on that other show that you do.
Yeah, well, we don't talk because it's better for this to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have some news.
I had some nice news happen the other day. Yeah, about a week ago or so.
We have hundreds of people watching this show right now. You should.
Oh, why should they be denied?
Yeah,
that's information.
Tell them about
a short film that I made with some dear friends of mine, some really talented, smart, wonderful people. Trish Harnato, director, writer, and Jacob A. Ware, who's an actor and a friend of mine, and we've been in a lot of things together. We've all made a lot of stuff together over the years, and our latest thing got into Sundance. And it's brand new news for us. First time to the festival for all of us. And we're really excited. It's a crazy year to be invited because it's all going to be or most of it's going to be online.
And you're not going to get to hang out with Bob.
Not going to get to hang out with Bob or the programmers or go skiing.
Which you do a lot.
I've been skiing. I have pictures to prove that I've been skiing.
I did not know that you'd ever been skiing.
I was skiing. My friend Michael, my dear friend Michael, and my producing partner took me skiing on a mountain. We went down the side of a mountain on skis, so it qualifies.
Okay, now you have to help me out with something today that I've been struggling with this for a couple of days actually, and I've called lots of friends. I called Happy Ed Jewett. He couldn't solve it for me, but everybody can almost solve it, and it's making them a little nuts. And it's a TV theme song. I think it's a TV theme song. It's been stuck in my head. Can't figure out what it is. I think it's like 60s, 70s. And I even thought maybe it was Lost in Space or My Favorite Martian or some.
Okay. That's Elephant Walk, Baby Elephant Walk. Henry Mancini. Literally.
From the show Baby Elephant Walk? I don't remember.
It's from a movie, I think. There's a movie called Elephant Walk, and it was in that, but I think it's also in the movie Hatari with John Wayne. Yeah, the Henry Mancini song.
I froze. You're like an encyclopedia.
I know. I like Henry. I actually am a Henry Mancini fan, and that's a pretty popular song of his.
So this is days of struggling, and you're just like, oh, that's Elephant Walk, baby Elephant
Yeah,
Walk.
but it could have been on a bunch of TV. I think they used that song in a lot of things, so
Yeah.
it could have been on a TV show. I don't know.
I think most of the time I've been on something like Law and Order or anything like that, because I always play the guy who, not, I don't play the bad guy. I play the guy who did something stupid and goes to jail because
Yes,
he kind of, and I think that's actually the song that plays when I'm caught doing
when on the footage of you going to jail.
oops,
Wow.
oops, I'm off to jail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I play the lawyer that eventually gets you out of jail, the corrupt
Oh,
lawyer that gets you out.
well, we're talking about a lot of other things right now,
Yeah.
other than what we're here ostensibly to talk about.
Well, we're just hanging out, right? This is just us hanging out.
Yeah.
What are we here to do? Oh, we got a specific movie to talk about.
Yeah, but the way I feel about this movie, we could just keep talking about other things.
Interesting. Okay. Um
What's the movie we're talking about tonight? Do you want to tell people about it?
we're talking about a movie called Executive Decision from 1996, directed by Stuart Baird and starring the remarkable Kurt Russell, the original computer that wore tennis shoes. Halle Berry, Steven Seagal, John Leguizamo. It's a hearty cast of people. We'll get into that. It is a what would you call it? Like a black ops thriller. It's not espionage really. It's a terror
No,
thriller.
it's an action thriller.
Yeah, essentially a plane it gets hijacked, and a team of good old American uh, soldiers go in and infiltrate the plane and try to do the right thing. You didn't have a good experience with this
No,
movie.
no, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and
Well, what's the problem then?
I felt a lot of tension through the whole thing.
Yes.
I was anxious. But it was a standard anxiety fare, and I felt they missed a lot of opportunities that could have elevated it. For instance, you mentioned, like, a gang of, this team of special ops guys get onto the plane in midair. Very exciting thing. But anytime you're going to put a platoon together, essentially, right? They didn't.
And you're talking from experience now, I'm assuming. Otherwise, you wouldn't be.
No, I mean in a movie,
Okay.
not in real life.
But you wouldn't be talking about this unless you knew.
I do not know anything
Okay.
about real life platoons, but I
Okay.
know a lot about platoons in movies.
And I don't even know if this was a platoon, technically.
Well, it's not a platoon, but
Is it a
the
platoon
group
like
of
8
soldiers,
guys? Yeah.
the group of soldiers that you're sending into the field are an opportunity for you to engage in an homage to different character types, to different tropes. And they gave the tiniest of nods to those, but they didn't have the old timer. They didn't have
They did, though.
but not really.
But okay, but I don't know. I could argue that
That Steven Seagal was the old timer.
yes. Now this is a thing we got to point out. If anybody's listening, if anybody's out there, this is a call for help. So please, no. If anybody's listening, we're gonna spoil this movie, and the reason that's important is because there's a very spoilable thing that happens in the movie early on that is very surprising, and that's such a great moment to me that I feel like it made me really
You mean when the little Steven Seagal G.I. Joe doll figure goes flying away through the air?
you're doing disservice to this movie and to your show right now. So let me just hold on.
Okay.
They pull like is this great Janet Leigh thing. It's the stunt is whatever the effect. It's from '96. This movie, so the effects were of maybe a little bit limited for your palate today. But I mean, okay, spoiler. So if you really haven't seen this and you want to see it, and this is Steven Seagal's your thing,
Stop watching.
go watch the movie and then come back. But the fact of the matter is, they pull a scream right in the beginning of this movie. Seagal dies right before the mission really starts, and it's a big surprise, and it leaves Mr. Kurt Russell in quite a situation, because he is an analyst. He's not even supposed to really be there, and ends up having to be kind of taking Steven Seagal's place. And Seagal obviously was the big badass who knew how to do all this stuff. So that's the setup. So your complaint is that it didn't have enough tropes in it from silly other movies. That was what you didn't like about it.
It's not just that it wasn't tropes. It's that they went very light on the differentiation of the characters of all of the platoon people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they were all exactly the same, but they didn't crank that up at all. They didn't make them interesting. And with the exception of Leguizamo, who kind of knocks me out all the time, because every time I see him, I feel like he's really authentic and completely different.
Yeah, he's great. And this was a big movie for him.
And I completely bought him as this guy.
I did too. I think this was his big step into, I mean, he was becoming a star. He'd already done Carlito's Way. He did Tu Wong Fu. But I think people didn't quite know what to make of him. And this was his big bid for, I'm an action star and I can handle this stuff. And I think he does a great job. Yeah, I'll give you that. I think that there's some weaknesses there in terms of character development. And they do, I mean, there's so many things that are tropes. I mean, I'm wearing a tuxedo jacket tonight in honor of the trope number 1, which is the hero arrives on the scene and has to do the movie in a dinner jacket, a tuxedo.
It also, it had one thing in it that I thought was just amazing. And I talk to my students in film school about this all the time, as it's basically a rule of screenwriting, I think, that I put it on the blackboard in my classroom, and I tell them if they violate this rule, F right away.
Okay.
And the rule is, if a character is training for his pilot's license in the first scene of the movie, then he's going to have to land a 747 alone in the last scene of the movie.
Yeah, it's a truth. It's Chekhov wrote that.
Yeah.
That's from Chekhov.
That through the entire movie, you know that Kurt Russell is going to have to land that plane by himself at the end of the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. I was disappointed that they had to go there, because I think I was charmed by it. I guess I had a good time.
I did too.
And I think that okay, so let's talk about the pedigree a little bit, because I think this is one of the reasons why it's so watchable, because it's really watchable. I was surprised at how engaged it was. It's very thin. It's incredibly silly with the bomb. There's a bomb on the plane and they have to defuse it. And Oliver Platt, who's great, he's great.
Everybody's good in it.
Everybody's good.
Essentially.
But they have to play very two-dimensional kind of parts.
But before you get into that, I do think, while we're talking about presidential pardons, there is one person in this movie who not only really deserves a presidential pardon for their performance, but I think actually knows the person who could give the presidential pardon.
Oh, yeah, right. There is an unpardonable performance in this movie by Donald Trump's ex-wife, Marla Maples Trump. At the time, she was Marla Maples Trump. She has one of the greatest silent movie performances that I've seen from the 90s, anyway, from that
How
decade.
can you be that bad when you don't even have anything to say in the whole movie?
I want to know how many things they cut out or had her not say once she started speaking.
Oh my God.
She just makes faces. She's an airline
Flight
steward.
attendant. Flight attendant.
Steward. I said steward. Isn't that
Oh,
okay?
I don't.
Okay, flight attendant, whatever. But I said steward. I didn't know that was off. That was
No,
I
no
couldn't say.
S's though. No
Yeah,
S.
no, I know that. Oh my God. You are not somebody to be telling me about these things, sir. My
What
good Lord.
are you talking about? I am so woke.
You're woke, but you're groggy. Let's face it.
I'm very groggy.
Yeah, she's really remarkable. And basically does she's throughout the movie and they keep cutting to her and she does a remarkable job of showing us different ways that she can cower and be afraid in a seat.
Maybe she learned that from her husband.
There were some jokes that I made with Amelia while I was watching it the other night that I can't repeat now because there's a point at which, well, I can, I guess. There's a point at which somebody approaches her with a gun and she kind of like shrinks back and I'm like, yeah, that's a regular Tuesday night for you, isn't it? She just looks like she knows what it's like to be horribly abused by people.
Oh, God.
So yeah, so it's fun. It's a fun, terrorist movie about terrorists from the Middle East, from a country that's in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, there's so many. I don't even want to talk about that because look, we picked this movie. I forgot that it actually had this element in it.
Right.
It's never been my favorite thing to watch. Like no, like hijacking movies. I mean, it makes me it makes me uncomfortable, frankly. Like that's the kind of horror movie that is too horrific for me. I can't, I get too, I've flown too much. I just feel that I just feel what it'd be like.
Yeah.
But they did, I thought for 96, I felt like there was an attempt to try to make the villains anyway, at least three-dimensional and have some kind of character to them, or at least to David Suchet, who was really good as the lead terrorist, as the big baddie in this movie.
Does he have the best eyes you've? I mean,
He is fantastic. He's fantastic.
He's spectacular in this.
And I have a feeling, I turned to Amelia, we were watching it, and he's known for being very intimidating and scary and stuff. But I returned to Amelia. I bet this guy is a blast at a party. I bet he is the sweetest, funniest guy in the world. Something tells me that that's what he'd be like.
Yeah.
Did we talk about the director yet? And what?
No, but he was a big editor.
Well, it was and is. He only directed 3 movies, but as an editor, I mean, it blew my mind. I was curious because this is well directed enough as an action movie. It's actually really well paced and well edited. And I was like, well, who did this? This guy Stuart Baird. Before he did this, he was editing some of the biggest movies in the world. I mean, started with Tommy, which is crazy, but he edited The Omen and Superman, the Lethal Weapon movies, and a billion other things, and the latest Bond reboots, like all of the Daniel Craig stuff, Skyfall, Casino Royale. One of the top editors, and his action editing is ridiculous. And
the action in sequences in this are terrific.
They're really, really good. And you can tell I can tell he was an editor, just the way that the shots that he was using, that he never missed a shot. Like he got everything he needed. And for a first time director doing a big action movie like that, you wouldn't ordinarily think he'd be able to do it.
Also, the military hardware in this, there's an awful lot of real footage.
Oh yeah,
of real planes.
Oh yeah,
and those shots of the F-16s or whatever they were,
the fighter jets. Incredible. But they also were using a real 747.
Yeah,
they were. I mean, it wasn't just fighter jets. It was fighter jets in
And a
formation
747.
with the 747 at magic hour, like
Yeah.
at sunset.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. All the flying stuff is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it starts with, you know, the great Kurt Russell flying in a like a prop plane,
Yes.
like a
Single engine Cessna.
but it's kind of a souped up plane. It's not just a regular Cessna, is it?
No, it's just a regular flight school.
And you say this from how many years of flying planes?
I was up in a
Oh, you were, weren't you?
yeah, I've been up in a couple of them.
You know your shit. Sorry.
Well, I wouldn't say I know my shit, but I was up in a PT-17 Stearman.
Well, you know what that means. You're
What?
the guy that gets to land the 747.
I am the guy that gets the lens. Well, I said that when I was up in the Stearman, the guy who I was up with, and for people who don't know, a Stearman is a biplane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the twin cockpit, the twin seat, and the trainee, which was me, sits in the front seat. And the guy who was in the back seat was about 75 years old. And while we were up there, I thought, oh my God, he could have a stroke or a heart attack, and I'm up here alone.
Yeah. He's thinking the same thing.
Yeah. And a few weeks later, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a former naval aviator and now flies for Delta. And I said to him, I said, I've seen enough movies and stuff, and I know, took some courses in high school where they talked about avionics and what to do. And I know the basic concept of what stalling out is and how to get to the runway, and that you point the nose down and get to the runway. And then as you decrease air, if you pull the nose up and decrease your airspeed, you're going to stall out. So I knew I'm pretty sure I could get the plane on the ground. And my friend who flew for Delta said, oh, there's one thing that's guaranteed. You're going to get that plane on the ground. One way or another, you'll be on the ground.
That's going to happen. that is something that is going to happen. Yeah, I think that this is one of those films that's kind of hard to see exactly clearly what it was like when it came out, because it wasn't innovative. It wasn't completely innovative, but it was a lot more innovative than we think. It was a year after the first Mission Impossible movie. And Mission Impossible reset action films forever. That was, I think, the first time I thought, as an audience goer, I went to the movies and went, oh, the high-tech spy stuff I'm seeing in this feels just within the realm of reality, like kind of real, like way out there, but possible. And just a year later, this movie comes out, and they're kind of doing some of the same moves, like hanging from the ceiling, that Tom Cruise stunt where he hangs from the ceiling of that. I guess it's a supercomputer room where he's trying to steal the chip or whatever. Then they do a version of that in this, which is kind of my favorite thing in this movie, is the sequence with Leguizamo and Kurt Russell, who are on a zip line along the interior of the plane, inside the architecture, so it's above the baggage racks and nobody can see them, but they have to very quietly kind of creep along to scope out who's on the plane. That was a really well done sequence, and I remember when I saw this in the theater being like blown away at the tech I was seeing. Like I hadn't seen a lot of it, and then of course we saw all of it later.
The little cameras that those are cool.
Yeah.
That leads into my favorite line and moment in the movie.
What's your favorite?
Is line? when they're able to communicate to Halle Berry that they need to find out where this one guy is sitting, because that's the guy who's got the secret switch to the bomb, the sleeper switch to the bomb, and she goes through the cabin and feels like she's identified the guy, but she can't pick up the phone. There's no way for her to talk to them, so she has to write it on her hand, and she holds it up so that they can see it through the little thing. And Kurt Russell and Whip Hubley are looking on the camera, and she has written in big letters 21K on her palm. And she holds it up to the camera, and they both look and they go, 21K. 21K. And I was like,
it was literally like something from Herbie Goes Bananas. It was a Walt Disney moment. They were like two 12-year-olds for a second.
You want to know what seat the person's in, and she writes 21K.
What does it mean?
What
It must be the seat that they're sitting in. 21K. Yeah, we paused and laughed at that one. But any movie that's going to take out Steven Seagal, who was a bigger action star at that point than him. He was huge. Yeah. He was actually he'd almost like jumped the shark and was kind of cresting out. But he made this movie, and the fact that he dies in the first 20 minutes, just fantastic.
All right, I've got a new question for you. The movie, the Washington and the military,
Len Carey.
We're at the Pentagon. Oh, we're at the White House.
Yeah,
we're in all these different situation rooms that are littered with a phrase that I've learned from you in the past few weeks that I love is that guy. He's that guy.
Yeah.
Well, this movie is just filled with that guy.
So many of those guys.
And we'll give them their due. But who's your favorite of that guys in this movie? Because one of them really stands out for me.
There's a bunch. Gosh, who's my favorite? I think that of the people I thought who really brought their characters to life, JT Walsh to me was just right on point.
Always
fantastic as the slimy senator who's running for president, and he tries to cut a deal with David Suchet, and he plays a great slimy guy. He was fantastic. How about yourself?
Michael Milhoan.
Who was he?
The co-pilot.
Oh, he was great. He was great.
I adore him.
He was great. Great scene when he has to go down into the bowels of the plane, and he doesn't want to go, and he's forced down there, right?
Yeah.
And he meets the team, and he has to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah. And like he suddenly realizes, oh my God, there's a team of soldiers on the plane, and B, he's got to try to figure out how did they get on the plane.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop another name on you. This is my other favorite. This is a person who deserves a shout out. Oh my God, does Mary Ellen Trainor, who dies first? She dies within 2 minutes,
and bad. She dies bad.
And she has to stay. Obviously, it was great because she got paid. She had to play her dead body several times, so she got a lot of extra days there where she just had to lay on the floor of the airplane.
Well, they could have shot her out in one day.
I don't think so.
No,
because all the Halle Berry airline stewardess stuff, which he had, was not with any of the Leguizamo guys or the terrorists at all.
But if you go back and look at the shot with Leguizamo, where Leguizamo finds her, you don't see them in the same shot. You see a gloved hand touch her.
Well, at least I'm looking out for her. You don't care. And I'm at least trying to get people to notice.
No, she's great.
You're not only ignoring how good she is, but trying to take her money away. And I'm just trying to get her paid. Okay. This woman is in the Goonies. She's in Die Hard. She's in the Lethal Weapon movies. She's a national treasure and never got her due. Mary Ellen Trainor died too soon in this film.
That I agree with.
Too soon.
It should have been Marla Maples.
It should have been Marla Maples. Her death scene would be great. I think she could do an amazing, like, dramatic moment. Her physical comedy was so good. I can only imagine what her tragic moments would be like.
Okay. Do you know the name of the movie that is playing in the background when JT Walsh and David Suchet are having their conversation? on the screen in the cabin with the ape, the guy trying to drive a car and fighting with an ape at the same time.
I don't know what it is. Do you?
1995's Born to Be Wild.
Born to Be Wild. I don't even know what that is.
Starring Will Horneff and Jean Marie Barnwell. But also in this movie are Helen Shaver, John C. McGinley, Peter Boyle, my friend Gregory Itzin, Titus Welliver, Alan Ruck, John Procaccino, Oba Babatunde.
We got to rent this movie. Why didn't we see that movie?
We might have to watch.
That's a great idea, actually. Is that instead of like picking next week's film, which we already did.
Well, we can unpick it. We could.
My point is, like, if we just swung from branch to branch, basically, like a flying squirrel, from things like that in the movies to movies. So the next week would be that film, and we'd find some other thing to swing to.
Yeah. So you want to do Born to Be Wild next week instead of Running Scared?
Let's see if Born to Be Wild is available.
Because there's Born to Be Wild.
I'm ready to see something that sounds as good as Born to Be Wild looked.
I couldn't believe it. And what I was wondering while I was watching it, because when the terrorist and the politician are talking, is a scene with a guy trying to drive a vehicle and fight with a gorilla at the same time. And I was wondering if that was some sort of comment on the terrorist talking to the politician.
Oh, we're seeing it. It's available to see. If you have Amazon Prime, it's on there. Well, it's like $3 or $2.
Born to Be Wild, baby.
It definitely sounds worth it.
Okay.
Oh my God, how could we not? Yeah, this is the way to go. And finally, I've never seen this. Something completely new and different. I'm very excited.
Never seen it. Favorite line? You have a favorite line in the movie?
No, I don't. There wasn't a line of dialogue that even remotely said anything to me.
Well, I'm gonna make you maybe a little less unhappy with me, because I didn't think it was wonderful, but if I had to pick something, a moment of dialogue that resonated with me a little bit, was the moment between Kurt Russell and Steven Seagal on the plane, on the way to the plane, on the plane.
Okay. Yeah.
And Kurt Russell is telling is telling Steven Seagal that the mission is never gonna, they're not gonna be able to pull this off, and Steven Seagal is saying, we can get in there and we can get this job done. No, it's the other way around. But Steven Seagal said,
we're going live. We're live right now.
Whatever. Kurt Russell says to him, if you don't believe me, what are you doing up here? Because Steven Seagal's questioning whether or not the bomb is really on board the plane.
Right.
And he says, if you don't believe me, what are you doing up here? And Steven Seagal looks at him and says, well, who the hell else is going to do it? You? And
yes.
And he threw it away in he didn't do a whole tough guy thing with it. He did it like, this is what I do for a living. I'm stuck doing this because schmucks like you. Yeah.
I thought it wasn't really dialogue, but in terms of moments, I thought, I thought Joe Martin did a hell of a job as having to lie there and be in agony convincingly. That's harder to do than it looks, and he really sells it. He sells that in Terminator 2 also. He has that really classic scene at where he buys it in that movie, where he's been horribly injured and he's hyperventilating and he's got the bomb in his hand. He does that so well.
Those are the roles that I, covet. Not
Lying
like
down.
the lying down. It's like I don't have to move. I'm
It's
sitting
and
here on the couch.
it's not physical laziness. It's literally that you just don't have to learn blocking.
Yeah,
That's the greatest thing.
yeah.
If you're playing a character who's in a hospital, it's fantastic. Everybody else has got to learn all these things and run around, and somebody just brings you some jello, and
I
you just
read for a series regular a couple of years ago. Series regular, the father of one of the main characters who's had a stroke.
you were like the
And
first guy you were the first
wheelchair.
guy at the reading.
I'm like, please,
First person.
I want this job. I'm perfect for this job.
This character is so much like me, you wouldn't even believe it. Yeah.
I can do that.
I don't know. I feel like this movie, as much as I had a better time, I enjoyed it, and I kind of half remembered some things. Nothing.
I was tense through the whole thing. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, God.
I'll tell you my favorite moment. Again, there is nothing. The script wise, literally nothing. Anything good about it was just completely rehashed from 1,700 other things. But the sequence where it's kind of late in the film and everybody is got their guns drawn. Kurt Russell has been given a gun. He doesn't know how to use one, but they're like, somebody's got to use it. And so you've got the 3 team members are waiting for the call. Think about whether the bomb has been destabilized or not,
Right,
or has been diffused. And they're just waiting. And the tension of like, particularly Kurt Russell committing to going out there, guns ablazing, with not even knowing how to shoot. They really captured that feeling of wow, I'm really not equipped for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, I've always enjoyed Kurt Russell, and he's just a pleasure to watch. I mean, in all those moments, he brings. He's never really trying to be interesting, which I love about him. He's never trying to do something with a line reading or do any character mannerisms, or like he's kind of meat and potatoes, but he's so truthful. Like everything he does, you believe that he's doing it, which is such a big component to great movie acting, not that it's all not important, but just to see somebody who understands exactly what he has to do and doesn't try to be any more interesting than he has to be. It's really great.
And the moment at the end, the salute, I will admit that when the guys on the team salute him at the end,
Got a little choked up.
I was moved.
Got you a little bit.
Got me a little bit.
I can see that. I can see why you'd feel that way.
One of our viewers, Brian Jesuit, wants to know, where's Adam?
Adam, he doesn't like you or me or anybody anymore. He's out of here.
He's a big Adam fan, this guy.
Okay.
A big fan of Adam.
As am I, Brian. Adam is right now working on a show. He got a very cool gig, and he's producing and directing, and I think also doing some acting.
Yep.
In a new show that's shooting in L.A. I think they're in L.A.
Yeah, they're in L.A. and it's going to be on ABC, and it sounds really good.
Yeah, so he has literally just been swamped with work, and we miss him and hope that he'll want to come back and play with us when he's done with the show.
Also, he doesn't like us, Brian.
So, well, yeah, but there's multiple reasons, many reasons why. My favorite, the moment that really touched me more than anything, was when my favorite character from this, played by Richard Ryle, who was the U.S. Marshal on the plane.
Oh, he's terrific too.
Oh, he's fantastic, but the poor guy he must have been cut severely out of this movie because
anything except nothing.
He gets his shirt off at the end when he's on the stretcher, and he has a touching moment where somebody's like, "Does your bullet wound hurt?" And he's like, "I'm okay. I'm all right."
And the pilots who are heroes through the whole movie,
They were great.
and then get blown up
Nobody thanks
at
them.
the end.
They just get killed and nobody. They're just like, get out of the way.
But their bodies get unceremoniously
Tossed
thrown out of the cockpit.
Yeah. I don't think, as testimony to how good and solid Kurt Russell is just how ridiculous landing that plane is in this movie at the end. They just didn't need to go there. They didn't have to have that whole end of them landing the 747, which I'm sorry, I just don't believe that if you've not trained to do it, I just don't think you can do it. And
I wish I had invited my friend Dave, who's the former naval aviator.
I'd love to watch this movie with Dave.
I should, Dave. You've met Dave.
I have met Dave. That's why I'm saying I'd love to.
It would have been fun to have him here discussing that scene.
But I want to watch the movie with him and then do the show, because I have a feeling he'd stop. Be like, Dave, just stop the movie anytime you have something that's not. Be like every 30 seconds. The phones don't work that way. That would be a red light, not a green light. It would never. Wouldn't stop.
Did I tell you about the time I got the tour of I think it's the Midway down, which is docked as a like the Intrepid is a museum in New York. The Midway, I think it's the Midway, is a museum in San Diego.
Wow. Okay, cool.
He served on that ship.
Oh, wow.
And he met me there one day in his uniform, and he was a commander, same rank as James Bond. He's a commander in the Navy, and he met me in his dress uniform.
And you felt suddenly for a way about a man that you had never felt before.
Never felt that way before.
Yeah.
But he gave me a personal tour of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
As he's walking around in his dress uniform and he's a commander, everywhere we go, any of the actual Navy guys working on the ship are, getting out of his way, anything you need, blah, blah. We got to
never have you felt more like Roger Mosley in Magnum PI than in that moment.
No, I think I felt more like Rick.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Mosley was tough. Mosley would know how to handle himself. Yeah. Rick wouldn't know, wouldn't. Yeah.
Would be like, oh, yeah, can we go in here? Can we turn this on?
Yeah. Stop it, Rick, you dumb idiot. Yeah. Greatest show. Still love that show so much.
Still the best
show.
Do.
Love it.
Did you see the sunrise this morning?
It's code. It's code for Magnamites. I don't know if that's the word. Magnamites?
Magnamite is a kind of Magnemite kind of rock.
It is, yeah.
Magnemite.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. This movie that we're talking about tonight, it's like it's ephemeral. It disappears in the air. It's charming. There's nothing to talk about, really.
Yeah, no, and that's what. See, that was my complaint. Actually, if I had just watched this movie, do the show, and I just like, oh, I'm sitting at home, I don't have anything to do. Oh, I'll watch this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that 2 hours where I wasn't thinking about death and destruction and politics, and but I was sitting there watching it, going, what are we gonna
say about it? There's not. It's just it is what it is. There's just it's efficient. It's so beautiful. I'd say if you are interested in watching military tech in a movie, or some cool, if you're into like planes or something, there's some really, really cool photography and stuff in this movie. And
very impressive. We got 4 planes and a 747 flying in front.
Yeah. And they're really doing it, because you can instantly tell the few times they have a process shot. It's so immediately clear. I think they even had the stealth bomber out for some of this for real.
So. But they They definitely had a lot of military cooperation.
Well, you saw the end credits, right? It was just a whole
Yeah,
panel of everybody helped them. Yeah.
technical advisors. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be really, not being a big, I don't know a lot about the military. I have some friends, of course, who've served and stuff, but God, it would be interesting to be in a movie where you had to kind of deep dive into some of that stuff or play somebody on a team like that. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if I could even make it through movie basic training, man. I really doubt it because I'm such a
I
chicken.
could make it through movie basic training if it was a stunt double doing it for me.
And you just had to do the look out, it's over there. You had to do that
Yeah.
stuff in close
But
up.
I'm just talking even the training before the movie. I would get my stunt double to do that,
Yeah.
show up for me, and with the trainer when they're trying to get me into shape.
Right.
I
Well,
think that'd be better in the part of the overweight air marshal on the stretcher at the end.
yeah.
Of the movie.
Just at the end, though.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, we're entering both of us into an age where we don't really have to worry so much about that
About
contingency.
people asking us to take our clothes off.
Well, no, I wouldn't go that far. I was
Look,
going to say that
even the doctor doesn't ask me to take my clothes off now.
He's like, no, you don't have to anymore. Really, we have technology. It sees through your clothes. Please, sir. Yeah. Yeah. What can you say? Ultimately, what can you say about a lot of Kurt Russell movies? They're just fun. I feel like there was an old Chris Guest thing on Saturday Night Live when he was on Saturday Night Live as a wine connoisseur.
Yeah.
And remember, they'd critique wines, and he'd say, like, he'd give you an example of what you should do with this wine.
Yeah.
Right. And he was a very fancy guy. And he's like, they'd like, he'd taste a bottle of like cheap Muscatel or something like that. He'd go, oh, this is a naughty wine. This is a wine that you want to spank and send to home, but send to bed without its dinner. And then he'd taste another wine and they go, what is this? What would you pair with this? He goes, this is a wine that you drink down by the railroad tracks with a bag of dipsy doodles. And I think we should similarly maybe find the perfect way to experience some of the movies we're talking about. This movie,
yeah,
to me, the best hotel, killing 2 hours in a hotel room, like I'm waiting for the dinner party and I don't know what else to do. This is on.
I've flown in. I'm on location. I've been picked up at the airport and brought to the hotel, but I don't know anybody else in the movie yet, so I can't go have dinner with. Tomorrow,
Right.
I'll be able to have dinner with somebody.
Yeah.
But tonight, I don't know anybody yet. They'll just think I'm an idiot if I go, "Hi, I just got here today. I'm in the movie too."
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the bar, bring a drink up to the room, and watch Executive Decision.
You do that? You go to the bar and bring a drink up to the room?
After I've had a drink or two at the bar.
Yeah. See, I've gotten to the point now where I bring a bottle in my luggage to the hotel.
Yes.
Because I don't want to pay what you know this about me when we met down in Florida 2 years ago.
I do know this about you, yeah.
In my room.
Yeah. I don't think you'd say no to it. As a matter of fact, you did that and had a drink at the bar. I know that because I bought you that drink because it was your birthday.
Oh, that's right. It was my birthday. I think I had more than one drink at the bar. I think I had a few drinks.
I think so.
I think you did. Yeah, boy, I wish I had more things to say about this movie.
It's a thing. It's just it's a crazy hostage movie. It's insensitive. Terribly insensitive. I'm sure to many people who don't get represented properly in this film. I think
there are no male flight attendants in this movie.
It's disgusting. I was upset by that. I didn't feel represented at all by that, in fact. No, that didn't bother me. I thought Halle Berry was wonderful. She's always good, and she played scared great. She didn't have a lot to do.
No, she 21K 21,
21K, she did that really well.
21K.
She braved walking into an elevator well. You know, I didn't believe for a second that they had any connection. Just because he landed a plane and she kind of helped him. I think her contribution, didn't she?
They're just
What?
going to have coffee.
Okay. That's code for all kinds of things.
It is
I
code.
thought.
Kinds of things, yeah.
I mean, she didn't really help with that plane other than get a 3-ring binder out of a slot.
But then she said, what did she say when he was freaking out?
Don't worry, you can do this.
No, she said, just fly the plane, which is what his instructor said to him at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Use the force, Luke. I saw that one.
Got it all home. Oh, right.
Use the force.
Just fly the plane.
Yeah. Well, they lost Porkins, so what else is he going to do? He's got to just fly the plane.
Yeah. And as Dave Bussey said to me, one way or another, he will get that plane on the ground.
It's going to be somewhere on the ground. That was nerve-wracking. I mean, as stupid as it was, I actually have a kind of a phobia about that. The idea of being responsible for that kind of thing suddenly, where it's like, seriously, you're the only person right now who has the use of their arms, so you have to do this. You know,
See,
I would choke. I'm the wrong person.
That's bad juju because you've said it out loud and now it's going to happen to you.
I think that it's reversed. I think I've made a case for not happening. That don't ask me. It's not going to happen because I'm not the guy. Not the guy. Not that kind of pressure. No.
I'm going to get you a T-shirt to wear the next time you're flying.
Not the guy.
Ask me to land the plane.
Or just not the guy.
Not the guy. Yeah.
No, that was nerve-wracking, but completely unnecessary. As it was basically just the end of the movie Airplane. See, that's the part I couldn't stop thinking about. And that's, I think, a fatal mistake of this movie, is that by the time everything else, so there's a bomb and they've got the terrorists taken care of and the thing is defused, now you've got to land a 747. Oh no. It was too unbelievable and unnecessary.
Anna was the pilot, and what's her name gets sucked out the.
Yeah, it was just Airplane. It was the movie Airplanes. All I could think about. I kept on waiting for the inflatable autopilot guy to pop up.
Airplane. I was thinking airport.
Airplane. Yeah. But they're interchangeable.
The airport has the same thing happen when the bomb goes. So the guy does the bomb and
does.
And what's her name? Who's the pregnant flight attendant?
What's her name? You teach film, yes? I was wondering, is that your job? What's her name? That lady who was in the movie with the things exploded. Her.
I do teach film, but I got to tell you, airport is not on the curriculum.
It should be. That puppy.
I'll tell you who it is. I had a terrible crush on her. Oh no, it's Burt Lancaster.
You had a terrible crush on Burt Lancaster.
Yeah.
Is there any other?
Jacqueline Bisset.
Jacqueline Bisset.
Yeah.
She was great.
But Warden, what about my birds?
Is Jacqueline? Wait, is she? What's happening with her these days? Let's find out.
With Jacqueline Bisset?
Yeah. Huh. Who won't tell me? I'm not authorized.
You're not authorized?
I can't get into IMDb.
Oh, well, I can. I'm there. Jacqueline Bisset. What's she done lately? She was in Sol y Sombra. Is in post-production, 2021 movie.
Oh, she's still doing stuff. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
She was in Blood Brothers in 2021. It's coming out. But things that we might have seen lately. Boy, I haven't heard of a lot of these. Dancing on the Edge, a TV miniseries in 2013. Welcome to New York. 3 episodes of Rizzoli and Isles.
Okay.
Nip and Tuck. Nip Tuck.
There you go.
Not Nip and Tuck. That was
The magic show.
a show about the chipmunks.
The Magic Chipmunks. Yes.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad she's working. She was great. I remember her. Oh yeah, in Bullet, of course. She's so good in that. She's great. Yeah. I feel like there's other Kurt Russell movies even that we will eventually get to that are, I don't know. And it's funny. You're right. It's like, this is a perfectly fine. I had a great time. I have nothing.
It's just not much to talk about.
No.
It was not Tequila Sunrise. Was Tequila Sunrise Kurt Russell? What was the?
No, I was
some boat murder mystery.
Captain Ron.
No, a serious one.
A Kurt Russell on a serious boat? I don't think so.
No Kurt Russell on a serious murder mystery?
No, I don't think so. You think you have Bitter Moon? Hugh Grant?
No.
Murder on the Orient Express was a train.
You're being mean to me.
I'm trying to help you. Death on the Nile?
No. I'm gonna find it. Some like Florida or Bayou type murder boat exploding thing.
It sounds like Kurt Russell could have been in that.
I'm gonna tell you what it was called.
He's a pilot actually in real life.
Rated in several different FAA ratings.
And he wanted to prove all of that by the first shots in this film being him really flying that Cessna for real.
It was Tequila Sunrise. He's in Tequila Sunrise.
Is he? I thought
Mel Gibson, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Kurt Russell.
Oh, I just remembered. I didn't remember Kurt Russell, and I haven't seen it since it came out. I remembered Mel Gibson and
1988. That's a movie that should go on the list.
It is. If you want to talk about sunrises in movies, every shot is a sunrise or set.
Hey, any shot that Michelle Pfeiffer is in is a sunrise in my mind.
Oh, that's sweet. That's really nice of you to say.
I don't think she's watching the show. I don't think she'll care.
No, everybody's in COVID. There's some surprising people. She can find out some Hollywood tidbits from us. She might want to know some stuff, some insider information.
Yeah.
I held a door for her once in Hollywood, coming out of a hotel.
What?
And I did. I held the door for her. She was coming into the building, and I held the door, and she looked at me like she was it was such disdain, sadness.
You didn't get anywhere.
I know she didn't. It was a very sad moment for me.
Wow.
It wasn't that she was mean. I probably was just kind of disreputable or something. I'm sure I did something.
You looked disreputable. That is not possible to me.
Don't be hurtful. There's no reason for that.
You, a guy that the Secret Service let be near the president-elect of the United States.
Well, I've looked disreputable sometimes when I'm acting and something, and the character is disreputable. Yeah. I'm not. Who am I to say? I can't say that how I look. It's not I'm not this person who decides that. You'd have to be the decider.
I don't want to be the decider.
You know what? Someone once told me. This is talking. Forgive me, but this is funny. Somebody once said to me when I was wearing something very similar to what you're wearing, do you know what they call fleece? What women call fleece vests? I said no. She said birth control.
Well,
So I learned my lesson that day.
apparently I have not.
I just kept wearing my vest after that. I in protest.
Do you know that when the pandemic began, uh, the first week of it in LA, and I went to the supermarket in the early morning hours and got on that. It was when we were first having to stand on lines, and I got on the line, and the woman in front of me turned around and glanced at me, and then turned back a moment later and said, "Oh no, sir, you can go right in."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until later that I had a little l'esprit d'escalier, spirit of the stairs. I was driving home, realized what I should have said to her in response was "thank you" and "when are you due?"
Right.
I should have said, but I didn't.
Instead of just the scrangled "screw you,
I'm
lady."
not 65.
Eh.
Oh,
Well,
I
it's not the worst thing that's happened to you on an airplane.
no, it's not. Um, that wasn't on an airplane. That was in a supermarket. What are you talking about? Anyway, I think we've talked about everything in the world except that, like, this is an hour show
Yeah,
about movies, and I think we talked about the movie for 20 minutes.
that's the review. It's There's nothing to talk about. There is nothing to say about it at all.
Yeah.
It's completely adequate action movie. It's fine.
All
Uh,
right.
I'd
So,
rather talk. Okay, let's do something positive for a change,
okay.
and talk about something that we've seen recently that we would like to actually promote instead of a movie that we're lukewarm about. Huh? That's a tougher question than you thought.
Um, well, I can't promote this because it's not out there in the world, but one of my students, a freshman, turned in a little Hanukkah movie that blew my mind. And this is a freshman in a freshman required course as an exercise.
Hmm.
I'll send you the link to it. Blew my mind.
I'd like to see it. Very-
Unbelievably, not just well done, production values, but a story that was just really well executed.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
that's great. It's exciting when your students do stuff that
And I think he's going to actually submit it to some festivals, and I wouldn't be surprised if it got a little attention.
very nice.
Um, stuff like out there in the world that
I
I've
don't
seen.
know, a book, an article, a piece of art, a song, a movie,
Yeah,
TV
I
show.
I can tell you that I am going to start doing bullet journaling. I bought the book on bullet journaling. Do you know anything about this?
It sounds like weird. Are you okay?
I don't I don't know.
You
No,
got the copy of that Deer Hunter out of the library on DVD the other day. I don't know
no,
what's going on with Matthew.
it's a way of sort of organizing everything you're working on in your diary and your calendar, but it's a method that teaches you how to really do it in a way that works personally for you, as opposed to it being a system that, oh, set it up exactly this way. um, and I
Is
realized,
this an app? What is this?
no, it's a book that describes the method, and then you use a blank journal to do it in.
Right. So
Uh,
that's the whole book is tells you to get one blank journal? Dude,
anyway,
how much was this book?
this is
I could make some money out there if I knew. Jeez. Hey, look, here's what you do with garbage.
this
You get a trash can. The end.
this is not a paid testimonial. Um, uh, yeah, so I'm about to start working on my bullet journal. to reorganize my life and make myself more productive.
Okay, good. That's
Actually, I'm not doing it to make myself more productive because I actually don't think I could be more productive than I am. I
exciting.
think I could be more efficient and have less anxiety about being like scattered all over the place. So, oh, I've got to do that now. And when do I have to,
Right,
and
right.
and I feel like this will help me organize things in a way where I can just go about all of the same business that I'm going about now in a calmer, more relaxed way.
I'm too fueled by neuroses to ever fix those problems in
Oh,
myself.
really? Okay. Yeah.
I don't feel unless I'm jumping out of an airplane, nothing happens. No, that's not true. That probably book would probably help me a lot. Sounds
Would
good.
you jump out of an airplane? Would you skydive?
Nope. No.
Why not?
Do I have to explain it?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Really?
Well,
Because
another
I
question.
don't want to die falling.
Okay. Would you scuba dive?
I would, and I have.
Yeah. Me too. And I've scuba dived a lot, and I've gotten my advanced
Yeah,
certification.
right. You were seriously into it for a while.
So a lot of scuba diving, and there's no way I will jump out of an airplane
Right.
ever.
No.
Not happening. Are
Nope.
you kidding me? And then I looked up the statistics, and do you know how much more dangerous it is to scuba dive than it is to skydive?
Like notably more.
Yeah, yeah, like I think you're something like 20 or 30 times more likely to die scuba diving than skydiving. I mean, it's much more dangerous.
And it's not like drowning is fun. So
No, having almost done it once, I can tell you it is not fun.
you came close, huh?
Came close in a bad surf diving incident in California once.
Wow. I almost got eaten by a hammerhead shark once.
That is real, though. That's not good. That's
No,
painful.
I came very close to yes.
I've heard from other people who died being eaten by hammerhead sharks.
Not as much fun as you think it's going to be
No,
once it starts. Um yeah, no, I'm not into I'm not a here's my feeling. I'm an actor. I take enough risks with everything in my life as it is without having to add to that gambling my money away. I don't need to do that. Already taken enough risks. I don't need to jump out of planes and stuff because I feel like I'm terrified all day anyway, just because of being in the arts.
well, can I tell you like a fantasy of mine though, relative to jumping out of airplanes and scuba diving?
Yeah.
I still fantasize about this. I would
Show me
like
your hands
and check.
and check.
I would like to jump out of a helicopter.
Thought you were gonna say a cake.
No, yeah. No, I would like to jump out of a helicopter about 15 feet above the water in full scuba gear. Like even as an extra.
Combining the two most dangerous things you could do at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not with a parachute. I mean, just
I know.
like in the Bond movie where the five guys are jumping out of the
Yeah.
helicopter, the frogmen into the water to
Yes,
go
the frogmen
to
jumping.
the
Yes.
underwater.
I probably would do that. That's it's irrational. I mean, I'm not. It's not like scuba diving. I never thought it was the safest thing to do, but just like I'm not jumping out of a plane. I'm sorry. I don't think you could. I think I could say that I'd do it, and I'd get up there, and they couldn't. I wouldn't go. I just like no, sorry. And they're like, we're all gonna crash. There's not enough gas. I'd be like, we're all gonna die then because I can't. I'm sorry, just not
Come back
jumping.
down, and I'd say, did you jump? And you'd say a little at first.
We're first.
For anybody out there who knows that joke.
Oh boy, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear anything that I might have seen or done or liked this week? No, don't want to hear about that. It's fine. I didn't see anything good. It's okay.
No, I do. I want to hear what you saw that was good. But I'm almost more interested in what you saw that was bad.
I don't think I will go into detail on anything that I saw that was bad. Just
Was
because I want to work again. But I did see this new, very creepy, well done show on the Yorkshire Ripper. It's a documentary true crime series on Netflix called The Ripper, which was well done.
okay?
Well done. Unnerving. Some very interesting, unique angles on the case that developed through some female journalists that were covering it way late in the case, and they made some developments and pointed out things that the police were doing really wrong because they were just guys and they were prejudiced.
Huh?
Very interesting. Well done. If you're, and not for the squeamish, it's a dark show. But
We have a movie recommendation from Dad.
what's that?
He just emailed me right before the show started and said, a really nice Christmas movie. If you're looking for something to watch this week, we just watched a delightful Christmas film called The Feasts of Seven Fishes. Love. And for some reason, he sent it to you and me.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really weird. How did I get this? Because this email is addressed to you.
He does that. I think.
No,
Yeah.
but it says to Tony Arkin, Anthony Arkin.
In the same week.
Yes, it is weird. Especially when you consider that he's 99%, he's pretty Russian, our dad.
Yeah, well, I don't think he has the time to involve himself in espionage. I was more thinking that he had been hacked.
Oh, and it's the time. It's the time is the issue.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that our father was.
If he had the time, he could have done the hack.
We all know his ability to write computer code is unparalleled.
But I just love that he signed an email to you, Love Alan.
Love Ellen. Yeah. I wonder if that's just because he's like, he hasn't called me in a week. I wonder if I better say what my name is or he won't know who it is. The Feasts of Seven Fishes. Well, I looked it up. It is available to see on Prime. And who couldn't use a nice Christmas warm family movie at a time like this?
Yes. Anything else this week that you've watched that's good?
Yeah, geez, you'd think I'd see something Christmassy. Instead, I watched the show about the Yorkshire Ripper. That says so much about me. No, but I think as a counter to that, we'll probably gonna watch It's a Wonderful Life tomorrow night. I haven't seen it in, it's got to be like 15 years, and it's a better movie than anybody even knows.
It's a spectacular movie, but there is one thing about it that I noticed last year. I was thinking about it, and the whole end of the movie, right? He's just running around with Clarence. Spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't seen it, running around with Clarence, like, oh, if you hadn't been born, your brother would have drowned in the lake. And if you hadn't been born, the drugstore, the pharmacist would have poisoned that woman and gone to prison. He would have gone to prison and been a drunk. And if you hadn't been born, your mother would be running a boarding house. And if you hadn't been born, all those guys on that ship during the war would have died because
this is the best thing.
And it goes on and on and on. All the terrible things that have happened. Where's my wife? Where's Mary? Where's my wife? Oh, don't make me tell you. No,
it's too horrible.
It's too horrible. Where is she? She's closing up the library.
Yeah, it is.
And she's got glasses.
Yeah.
Never married.
Yeah. It is hysterically funny. And the most, like, in an otherwise maybe perfect movie,
yeah,
a completely off key moment of just like,
in an
excuse me,
perfect movie.
I really, she's a librarian, which is the worst thing that could happen.
She's an unmarried librarian who now needs glasses.
I think we should do a supercut where we reshoot that scene and she's literally on the pole. She's like stripping. It's like that's what would happen. And she's at a burlesque show
Yeah.
downtown.
She's rich and famous because yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah, exactly. She's a beloved, singer from nationwide act.
Yeah. But one of the most romantic kisses, first kisses, I think.
Yeah, you don't expect that to be that steamy in It's a Wonderful Life, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty steamy moment.
Yeah.
Rivaled maybe only by Notorious for like
Oh, geez.
kisses that go on for, or the kiss that's not really a kiss. They don't even really kiss. They're just kind of like 3 millimeters apart for an entire dialogue scene.
Yeah.
That's great stuff too.
Grr. That's what I say.
Are you okay? Did you have enchiladas for dinner, or is that what's happening?
I am so far from okay.
We're both losing it a little bit. Let's face it. We're locked down. It's been 9 months and counting, and
Yeah.
everything's good. No complaints. We're in good shape, but it gets a little bit. You get a little stir crazy.
Yeah. No, we're among the lucky ones. So, all right. So next week, Running Scared.
Or did we switch? Are we going to see the monkey movie?
Monkey movie.
There's a gorilla movie, right?
All right. Next week, Born to be Wild.
I think we really got to do it. I mean, it's great. I mean, I've never even heard of it.
Yeah. So if you watch the show, watch Born to be Wild this week, and we'll be back here next week to talk about it.
Yep.
Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and to Merry Christmas to all.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to anybody listening. Merry Christmas to you, buddy.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays in general.
Yeah.
Stay
safe, stay healthy, stay inside. Don't go visit anybody.
Don't be alone and lonely.
That's alone and lonely. Yeah.
No. Zoom with somebody, scream out the window at your friends, do something. Share your stories.
Yeah.
And we'll all get through this too. We'll see you in a new year
with a new monkey movie.
Yeah. The gorilla movie looks like it's going to be quite something.
All right.
Very excited. All right. Good night, man.